Good evening, you're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. To give you a sense of where I am, right outside the Red Fort metro station, completely been cordoned off. The Red Fort metro station is now closed. The surrounding areas, all shops have been shut down. Chandni Chowk is completely shut. Right behind me, forensic team, the NIA team, combing operations on, and every piece of evidence is being tested. Till now, there has been no official confirmation whether or not this has been a terror attack, but the sheer fact that the NIA has been handed over the probe seems to clearly suggest that now this is a counter-terror operation which is on. On the other hand, the suicide bomber is seemingly directly linked to the terror module that was busted yesterday morning, a terror triangle where the state of Uttar Pradesh, Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, tracing its links to Jaish-e-Mohammed, which traces its footprints to Pakistan. Once again, we'd like to hark back on what our Prime Minister had said post-Operation Sindoor, stating it is an ongoing operation and any act of terror would be considered an act of war. All of that being broken down over the course of the next 45 minutes. Allow me to take you through the headlines. CCTV footage of the I-20 car has surfaced. Suspect Dr. Omar seen inside the I-20 wearing a black mask. The car entered Delhi from the Badarpur toll plaza at 8:13 a.m. yesterday. Delhi blast accused Omar has a checkered past. He was thrown out of a hospital for the death of a patient in 2023. Heat on more doctors of terror after Delhi blasts. Jihadi lady doctor of terror Shaheen Shahid involved in Faridabad terror module. Sources suggest jihadi or was tasked to establish. Jihadi doctor was tasked to establish Jaish Women's Wing. As the death toll in the Delhi blast rises to 10, Prime Minister Modi from Thimphu, Bhutan sounds a big warning. Asserts that conspirators won't be scared. Asserts that conspirators won't be spared, will be taken to task.
इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा. All those responsible will be brought to justice.
Delhi blast probe handed to NIA. Prime Minister Modi to chair Security Council meet tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And Bihar looks set to replicate its historic voter turnout in phase 2 of polling as well. Over 67.14% turnout recorded at just 5 p.m.
I'm going to ask the camera person to zoom in and show where exactly we are. There is that board of the Red Fort. You can see very closely. There is the blast site.
आसपास के तमाम हिस्सों की जो गाड़ियां थीं उनके परखच्चे जो हैं वो उड़े.
यहाँ पर आपको एम्बुलेंस दिखाई दे रही होगी और ये काफी जोरदार धमाका है.
6:52 is when that car stopped. A blast takes place. There are multiple other cars which gets engulfed.
Civil defense people and as well as Delhi police personals are deployed here.
तमाम जो एजेंसियां हैं सब यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं. इस पूरे इलाके को कॉर्डन ऑफ कर दिया गया है.
How explosives were taken inside Delhi.
A clear link now is being established with the Jaish camp as well as the Faridabad module over there.
All right, viewers, the Red Fort suicide bomber attack now clearly established as a terror attack with the NIA taking over the probe. Confirms, if you put together, stitch together the sequence of events of the last 24 hours, a footprint that can be traced all the way to Pakistan. Of course, more investigation, detailed investigation is warranted, whether or not the main actors in this terror plot can be linked to Pakistan, but the sheer fact that the terror module that was busted, to which is linked Dr. Omar Mohammed, who was behind the wheels of the I-20, which was laden with explosives and detonated in front of gate number 1 at Red Fort Metro Station, right behind me, sees its links, bears its link to the terror module that was busted yesterday, where 2,900 kilos of ammonium nitrate explosives, sophisticated weaponry in terms of AK-47, AK-57 pistols, all of that that was amassed and busted by the Jammu and Kashmir police, points out to the footprint of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which again traces its links all the way back to Pakistan, Bahawalpur.
The Red Fort terror blast. And now a widening probe that points beyond Delhi. Investigators are tracking not just a car and its driver, but what they believe could be the footprint of a larger network. At 8:04 a.m. Monday, the I-20, which exploded, entered Delhi from the Badarpur border. By 8:20, it was caught on CCTV at a petrol pump in Okhla. Hours later, at 3:19 p.m., the same car drove into the Sunheri Masjid parking lot near the Red Fort, where it stayed for nearly 3 hours. At 6:48 p.m., it rolled out of the lot and just minutes later exploded at a red light near the Red Fort, killing 9 people. The man behind the wheel, Dr. Muhammad Umar, now believed to have been part of a larger terror module operating from Delhi to Pulwama. The I-20, bearing the number HR26 CE7674, is now at the center of a deepening terror probe. Its ownership trail winds through multiple hands, and now investigators are piecing together who was behind this car of terror, a trail that runs from Haryana to Pulwama. The I-20 was first owned by Muhammad Salman, who says he sold it to a man named Nadeem. Nadeem passed it on to a used car dealer in Faridabad. From there, Tariq, a Pulwama resident, bought it. The final buyer, Dr. Umar, is alleged to have been behind the wheel where the blast took place. Investigators now say Umar wasn't just a buyer. He was allegedly the mastermind of the Red Fort blast, part of a sleeper cell linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed. Two of his close associates, Dr. Adil Ahmed Rater and Muzammil Shakil, are already under arrest. Shakil was picked up by the Jammu Kashmir police on October 30, just days after Adil Rater's detention. Their interrogation led investigators to a shocking discovery. The cops recovered 2,900 kg of bomb-making material, including 350 kg of an explosive agent, ammonium nitrate, from the residence of Muzammil Shakil, a medical professor at the Al-Falah Hospital in Haryana's Faridabad near Delhi. Dr. Umar was also employed at the Al-Falah Hospital. Sources tell India Today that Dr. Umar maintained encrypted online contact with suspected handlers abroad. When the Faridabad module was busted, Umar panicked and, fearing arrest, allegedly planted the explosives himself in the I-20, carrying out what investigators believe was a suicide mission. The explosion killed him instantly, along with 8 others caught in the blast radius. DNA samples are now being matched to confirm Umar's identity. Multiple agencies, including the NIA, Delhi Police Special Cell, and IB, are now probing the module's communication trail, financial links, and possible instructions from Jaish-e-Mohammed's base in Pakistan's Bahawalpur region. As the probe deepens, the question grows louder. Was this just one cell acting alone, or the sign of a revived network trying to strike in the heart of India? Bureau Report, India Today.
Because, I'm going to take a moment to introduce our ACE investigative team that have been on the story on the suicide mission that was orchestrated yesterday, getting us the most authentic, verified, importantly correct reportage. Shreya Chatterjee, who's been speaking to her sources, breaking news ever since the course of 6:55 p.m. yesterday, and Munish Pandey, who tracks all the agencies for us. I want to begin with Shreya Chatterjee. Shreya, give us a sense. Two things right now are established. Number one, that what took place yesterday was a suicide mission. Clearly with the footprint of terror, in all probability linking to the Jaish-e-Mohammed, tracing its way all the way back to Pakistan. What more can you add?
Well, these are all confirmed information, Preeti, that has trickled down right now. Clearly, what the police right now is investigating on how this module was operating, how the radicalization took place, what were the sleeper cells that were activated to move the amount of cache of ammunition that was recovered by the Haryana police to the tune of 2,900 kilo of ammonium nitrate along with an assault rifle. All these three individuals arrested by the Jammu and Kashmir police are right now being questioned by multi-agencies. With the NIA taking the investigation, we will see their transfer of custody also take place, where they will also be questioned by the NIA. As of now, the Delhi police has also submitted a preliminary report to the MHA that details how the I-20 car moved across the national capital, thereby leading to the detonation that led to that blast, which killed and also injured multiple individuals. But the primary focus right now of all our agencies, including multiple state police, is to nab, if at all there are any other individuals hiding in that white-collar terror module that was initially busted by the Jammu and Kashmir police on Sunday from Faridabad's Dodge village.
You know, Shreya, stay with me. You know, taking off from what you said, I want to rope in Manish, who tracks the agencies very closely. Manish, what is exactly that we're looking at? What are your sources telling you within the NIA and other investigative agencies? With the bust of the terror module yesterday and the orchestration of the suicide attack yesterday evening at Red Fort, is it over? Or is there a sense that there could be a larger network at play, more sleeper cells that have been activated, the possibility of a larger cache of arms or explosives still out there?
Things are very clear at the end of time. Number one is this network was active in multiple places, not only in Jammu and Kashmir, but also in Haryana's Faridabad and in the national capital. That is why this case has been now handed over to the National Investigative Agencies, which specializes in counter-terrorism activities. Now, as far as the investigations are concerned, in last 2 weeks, several new things has unraveled as far as Jammu and Kashmir police's investigation is concerned. Several key individuals were detained, arrested by the Jammu and Kashmir police, which led the police to conduct searches and operation in Faridabad, where huge amount of explosives were discovered by the police, and that is when the police got the tip-off that there is one person, Dr. Umar Mohammed. He is absconding in the case, and at that point of time, Preeti, this is yesterday morning, that was a crucial piece of information which was shared to the intelligence agencies as well as the Delhi police. But anyhow, Dr. Umar Mohammed, he left Faridabad in the morning. He was at Lal Killa, where I'm standing, in the evening, where he carried out the blast in this area, killing 9 innocent people. So as of now, the police at this point of time, especially the NIA, which is carrying on the investigation, they believe that it is a larger network. Only some of the individuals have been so far arrested or identified. Today we saw that there were at least half a dozen people, not only in Jammu and Kashmir, but also in Faridabad. They were questioned by the state police, to find out the network of Dr. Umar Mohammed. So it is something which will unravel in coming days. It is a larger network. It is yet to be clear that which terror group was behind this particular terror attack, but it is believed that Jaish-e-Mohammed might be behind this terror attack. But once the NIA starts their investigation, which they have begun today, they will be able to not only detain and arrest and identify the main conspirator of this network, of this module, but they will also be able to unravel who were the conspirators, if at all they are sitting
Okay.
across the border, who were those individuals. So it is going to
Okay.
unravel in coming days, Preeti.
I just want to bring in Shreya very quickly. Shreya, if you can quickly encapsulate from where Manish, left this. So, what seemingly is a larger shadow of terror that persists? Is there now a clear and present danger, a security threat? Delhi is under high alert. Cities like Bombay are still under high alert. What are you picking up?
Well, that's exactly how our agencies will actually be treating the current situation. The fact that Dr. Umar Mohammed was absconding while the raids happened and he carried out that attack allegedly in a panic-stricken condition. Right now, none of our agencies or police will leave any stone unturned to ensure that security becomes a top priority, and they need to nab those individuals. Remember, Parvez, one of the doctors who's still absconding from the module, is to be traced down. What we're also being told by our agencies, there are multiple handlers in between through whom the ammunition exchanged hands and reached the border of the national capital. All those things needs to be traced down, and that's exactly what the focus is right now. We're also being confirmed by our sources that even the Home Minister told the same thing to the NIA, that ensure every member of the module is traced and taken to task.
All right, I appreciate both of you for joining us. Thank you. They're Munish Pandey, our Delhi Bureau Chief, and Shreya Chatterjee, who's been tracking the agencies and getting us the first, most authentic, verified report coming in. These are sensitive times, viewers, and that much care needs to be given to authenticate as the information filters in. Thank you, both of you. I want to quickly cut across to our guest this evening. Joining me is Dr. Brahma Chalani, Strategic Affairs Expert, Dr. Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer and former LG. I also have Ellen Rao, who's the former DCP Delhi. I want to begin with Mr. Ellen Rao. Mr. Ellen Rao, there is one side of the story which seems to suggest that we need to be a little thankful because this massive terror module was busted that could have led to multiple series of blasts, plus a cache of arms, maybe, those guns, which is an AK-47, AK-57 being used. And we need to be thankful that this was a big, security win for our agencies. On the other hand, Mr. Rao, the fact is, one terror attack is one too many. 9 innocent lives are lost. How do you read it? Many would suggest that this is a huge security and an intelligence failure.
Good evening, ma'am, and good evening to co-panelists and all your viewers. Definitely, it's a very serious incident. It was yesterday witnessed by Delhiites. And thanks to the Jammu Kashmir police, on the basis of their intelligence, Faridabad police could recover so much of this huge quantity of explosive in Faridabad area. And I think this case is linked with that itself, because the composition of the chemical seems to be like that only. And the car which was used in that Haryana number car which was used in this blast, and it was driven by that person who was seen in that parking area also waiting for so many hours, and then he was seen driving this car. He was also responsible for this, and it is stated by the police investigations that he has been also killed in this case. So now this most important question is that why and how this place was selected. I think after this Sindhu operation, that retaliation of Pakistan seems to be the result of this case, and they may be planning their bosses who are controlling these upper ground workers, UGWs in India. They were planning to blast at a very important place, that is Red Fort, to be the historical iconic place where every year our Prime Minister enforced this about tricolor, and we celebrate Independence Day from this place. So it may be the target of this place, that they should cause such a huge blast at this location. Now the investigation is handed over by the to the NIA, and definitely it should be, because it has many. At this case, maybe having links with many other states also, in addition to Faridabad, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh,
Okay.
Delhi. So this is very right
Okay.
step by the government.
All
to
right.
transfer-
What is also being noted here is that it's yet to be established whether or not Red Fort was the main target, or was it an act which was orchestrated in a sense of panic after the terror module was busted earlier. That remains to be investigated, and that information needs to filter in. Dr. Kiran Bedi, I want to bring you in, and Dr. Brahmachalani as well. But Dr. Bedi, for somebody who knows Delhi policing at the back of its hand, many would suggest it's impossible to actually comb through vehicles as they are coming in. How do you read this? Do you read this as a big intelligence failure? It's after a very long time we've seen the heart of the national capital being attacked, where a terror strike and a suicide bomb is concerned. Or do you see that, yes, we've been able to bust a larger terror module, and yes, one did get away, but one needs to count their blessings. But 9 lives have been lost, Dr. Bedi.
I think we've been able to bust a very large disaster. And that disaster, I think, was to be spread all over the country. I think this was a beginning. And I think we have got them by destiny, by design, by Haryana detection, by J&K police. I think we have avoided a disaster. The point is, I think, I may be wrong. This man was transporting this ammunition on his way. It was not for a Red Fort traffic signal. He has waited at the Red Fort port. He has waited. Why has he waited? Why? What is he waiting for? Was he waiting for a signal to reach somewhere? So I think he was on his way. Now, what triggered the suicide thing, if it is suicide, or was it a mistake? I do not know. But he was on his way. And with so much of ammunition back home in his place, it was meant for sleeper cells around the country. I think we have nipped it just perfectly in time. And different questions are different. But I think this man was not a suicide. He's got trapped. I think he's pressed it. He was transporting, to my mind, I may be terribly wrong, but he was on his way towards North Delhi and West Delhi, towards side. For whom? But maybe for a sleeper cell. So I think all the thousands of kilograms they've got was meant for awakening sleeper cells across the country. So I would think it's a very great detection by J&K police, Haryana police, and of course, subsequently, all have played a role in then subsequently. And I'm glad all agencies are now coming together, because signs of what is happening, this is happening were indicative of little things around the country from October post Pahalgam. It was all the little signals were always that they were awakening up, because they could not take that. And even after Afghanistan improvements of the country, the ROD, I think it's hurt them. So this was activated, and this is a white collar crime, because these doctors are not supposed to be committing be suicide bombers themselves, but others are. But I think I would think this is a white collar crime, but happened to be masterminded by these doctors, and these doctors were awakening sleeper cells through huge amount of money which they were probably getting. The real challenge now before this is to check the ecosystem, because they could not have done it, and I'm glad the Honorable Home Minister has directed them to find out who's the ecosystem, because the ecosystem is countrywide. Those sleeper cells are countrywide. Now, therefore, this investigation will lead one to the other. An ecosystem includes local police, because now, one hand, the local police is detected. On the other hand, who overlooked this ecosystem includes the sellers of all this ammunition. Ecosystem also includes all the accumulation. So I think it's an amazing detector. We have saved this country narrowly by great detection. Again, the credit goes to J&K and Haryana police. But Haryana police should also now clarify what allowed it to be accumulated.
Right. You know, I'm going to come right back. I also want to bring in Dr. Brahmachalani, whether he concurs with your theory or not, Dr. Bedi. But right before that, you know, I want to just cut across to what the Prime Minister said. The Prime Minister has been in Bhutan. He spoke from Thimphu, where he is in official capacity, attending the birthday celebrations of the 4th King of Bhutan. And he made it clear that any act of terror or those the perpetrators behind this, of course he didn't use the word terror, but the perpetrators of what has happened will be brought to justice. Listen into what the Prime Minister said.
आज मैं यहाँ बहुत भारी मन से आया हूँ। कल शाम दिल्ली में हुई भयावह घटना ने सभी के मन को व्यथित कर दिया है। मैं पीड़ित परिवारों का दुख समझता हूं। आज पूरा देश उनके साथ खड़ा है। मैं कल रात भर इस घटना की जांच में जुटी सभी एजेंसियों के साथ, सभी महत्वपूर्ण लोगों के साथ संपर्क में था, विचार विमर्श चलता था, जानकारियों के तार जोड़े जा रहे थे। हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
Especially the usage of English of all those responsible will be brought to justice for the international community that has been fairly involved ever since Operation Sindoor. I want to cut across to Dr. Brahmachalani. Dr. Brahmachalani, if you tie in all the loose ends, if you connect all the dots, it's rather clear that the footprint of Jaish-e-Mohammed is evident. The sheer fact that the Prime Minister last time when he said that Operation Sindoor is an ongoing operation, not just proverbially, but drew that line in the sand, saying that any act of terror is an act of war, and from here on, terrorists will not be differentiated from state actors, does put India now in a spot on how India will react and respond.
Let's look at the larger implications of this car explosion, and I think the Prime Minister's words clearly allude to the larger implications of this blast in Delhi. As you know that India is located in a very troubled neighborhood, but India remains a beacon of stability, of democratic vitality and economic dynamism. It's the only country in South Asia that is stable and economically booming. This is a testament to its strong institutions. So when there's a car explosion in Delhi, it attracts wide international media coverage. I got calls from Australia and from Europe this morning as to what's happening in India, because it makes some people wonder whether India is really that stable. That is why Pakistan's ISI staged the horrific Mumbai attacks in 2008, because Mumbai is the economic capital of India. And that is also the reason why terrorists carry out this car explosion, right, targeting the national capital region of India. Clearly, the busting of this terror module and then the car explosion clearly suggest that the aim was to target the national capital region of India. Because when you have an explosion, a terror attack in Delhi, it attracts wide international attention. And the latest terror attack is a sobering reminder that the front lines of national security lie not just along India's borders with Pakistan, but also within India's cities. So the security agencies need to proactively safeguard major cities. And I think the larger message is that this car explosion is a grim reminder, first, that terrorism remains a live threat to India's internal security, and two, that despite Operation Sindoor, the infrastructure of cross-border terrorism remains intact. In fact, it reopens the question as to why we ceased Operation Sindoor after just 3 days of operation, when the Indian military had gained the upper hand on the battlefield. The fact is that unless you do not go after the sponsors of terrorism on a continuing basis, they will always look for an opening. And I think even though a bigger terrorist attack has been averted, still, the implications of this car explosion are quite adverse to India's image, to India's security, and to India's need to present itself as a stable, economically booming country.
Right. Dr. Bedi, I want to bring you in on the point that, Dr. Brahmachalani made. And this is a point that is echoed by many. Because what this blast and this suicide mission yesterday, which was carried out, has brought in is reminiscent of what was witnessed very often during the UPA years. One thing that this government could pat its back on repeatedly, and something that the people always supported the government, was on the stability that Dr. Brahmachalani was talking about, a sense of security that this government provided. It's been, I don't remember when a blast like that has shook the heart of our country, which is the national capital. The implication, though, will be that much more grave.
Look, I see a shift in this crime pattern. It's from borders now to inside the country, because border issues has got contained. Defense, I think there's a total blockade there. This is an awakening of sleeper cells now within the country. Financing them, arming them, ammunitioning them. And these were the masterminds we caught. You see, nobody from outside has claimed responsibility so far. It's very unusual. Earlier, immediately, they used to claim responsibility. Jaish-e-Mohammed has not claimed any responsibility. We are assuming it. But I think this is clearly a shift from borders to covert cells, which are hiding somewhere. And also now it's not the chappalwala and pajamawala. No, now it is educated, radicalized. So this is a community which I think has now is now being radicalized.
I want to pick that point that you made. Dr. Bedi, I want to just, for a moment, stress and reflect and bring, our panel in on the point that you just made. Because, we might give it a glib word and call it white-collar terror module. But there is a larger implication and connotation to it. No longer are we looking at a set which is, steeped in poverty, uneducated, exploited by the harbingers of terror. This has a huge connotation. Look at it. These are men who've come from fairly affluent families, whose families have worked very hard to put them through MBBS colleges to attain, the kind of academic excellence that they have actually become doctors. These were men and women who could have chosen better than to tread the path of sinister terrorism that they have chosen. And I just want to give the list out. Muhammad Omar, Dr. Muhammad Omar, who was the suicide bomber in this particular case, young man, 1989, doctor at Al Falah Medical College, MBBS from GMC Srinagar. He was behind the wheel of the I-20 that was laden with explosives, detonated right outside the Red Fort metro station behind me. Adil Ahmed, then age 27, from Kazigund, senior resident doctor, GMC Anantnag. AK-47 has been found in his locker, arrested in Saharanpur, Uttar Pradesh, arrested from Anantnag. Muzammil Shakil, doctor at Al Falah University, arrested in Faridabad, Haryana. 2,900 kgs of explosives seized, linked with Adil Rathar, arrested from Pulwama. Shahin Shahid. Shaheen Shahid, a woman doctor from Lal Bagh, worked with Al Falah Group. Rifle found in her car. Allegedly, now she's a doctor, and allegedly now she's heading the women wing in India of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, arrested from Lucknow. Ahmad Mohammuddin Syed, MBBS from China, arrested by Gujarat ATS. The list will go on. One of the doctors, the brother of Shaheen Shahid, Salman Parvez, Dr. Salman Parvez, who practices in Lucknow at the Integrated University, is now absconding. If you put this all together, Dr. Brahmachalani, even just for a moment and reflect on it, no longer are you looking at maybe like a Kasab who was completely illiterate, came in from acute poverty and was used as a tool by the perpetrators of terror. You're looking at well-educated, men and women coming in from affluent families who one would think, pick a better, way of being. And also highlighting the fact, Dr. Brahmachalani, that these sleeper cells now have people like these making decisions, with what we've seen yesterday.
You raised a very good point, Preeti. In fact, if you look at the larger international context and look at the major terror attacks right in India's own neighborhood, they are a reminder that terrorism is not driven either by deprivation or by ignorance. Take the cafe attack on foreigners in Dhaka in 2016, or the subsequent jihadi bombings in Sri Lanka on Easter Sunday. The bombings in Sri Lanka on churchgoers and hotel guests were carried out by men from wealthy families. 2 of the 8 Sri Lankan suicide bombers were sons of one of the country's wealthiest businessmen. Several of the attackers in Sri Lanka had the means to study abroad. In fact, some of them had actually gone abroad and studied it abroad. But I think what's very troubling about the latest car bombing are 2 things. First, the involvement of medical doctors. The alleged suicide bomber in the car that exploded, was a medical doctor. The terror module that was busted earlier involved some medical doctors. Medical doctors are supposed to be saviors of lives. Here, they're turning out to be predators. That is very troubling. The second is the scale of the car explosion. It was so powerful that a number of other vehicles caught fire. Look at the number of people who died, the number of people who are battling for life in hospital, and the cache of explosives that was recovered by police, nearly 2,900 kilograms of explosives. That's a military level stockpile. It points to a coordinated plot targeting the national capital region and possibly even beyond. So I think even though we may take comfort in the fact that there was this, that the police managed to bust this terror module, that this suicide bomber, for whatever reason, struck at a red light near the Red Fort and not at a more strategic target, yet the implications of what these people were up to, that cannot be lost. It might suggest that there are other terror modules that are still potentially ready to target other areas of India, maybe even areas within the national capital region.
Right. I'm going to just, I'm going to come to you, Dr. Bedi, on this, but I want to just dip into the latest news break that we are getting in. The Delhi Chief Minister has announced an ex gratia grant for victims of the kin who have been killed in this act of terror yesterday of a suicide bomber. The latest that we are getting in is that the Delhi Chief Minister, who has of course deemed the incident unfortunate, 10 lakh for families of deceased and 5 lakh for permanently disabled, 2 lakh for seriously injured victims. My colleague who covers the Delhi government is joining us, Sushant Mehra. Sushant, over to you. What more can you add to this?
देखिए प्रीति, जिस तरीके की ये घटना हुई है उसके बाद से दिल्ली की मुख्यमंत्री ने अपनी संवेदनाएं जो है वो व्यक्त की हैं उन परिवारों के साथ जिनके साथ ये पूरा हादसा हुआ है। दिल्ली सरकार की तरफ से ऐलान किया गया है और सीधे तौर पर ये कहा गया है कि जो भी इस पूरी घटनाक्रम में जिनकी कैजुअल्टी हुई है, जिनके मृतक के परिवार वाले, उनको 10 लाख रुपए का कंपनसेशन जो है वो दिल्ली सरकार जो है वो देगी। इसके अलावा स्थायी रूप से जो अक्षम लोग हैं उनको 5 लाख रुपए का और गंभीर रूप से जो लोग घायल हुए उनको 2 लाख रुपए का मुआवजा जो है वो कंपनसेट जो है वो दिल्ली सरकार जो है वो करेगी। कल जिस तरीके से ये घटना हुई उसके बाद से ही दिल्ली के जो अस्पताल है एलएनजेपी पर तमाम जो दिल्ली सरकार के मंत्री है, खुद मुख्यमंत्री भी जो है वो पहुंचे, दिल्ली के लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर भी पहुंचे और आज दिल्ली सचिवालय में इसको लेकर के बैठक भी जो है वो की गई, जिसके बाद ये फैसला भी लिया गया कि इस तरीके से जो भी परिवार वाले उनकी पूरी तरीके से मदद जो है वो दिल्ली सरकार करेगी, आर्थिक रूप से भी मदद करेगी और उनके परिवार के साथ जो है वो खड़ी रहेगी ताकि जो ज़रूरत की चीज़ें हैं, चाहे उनको इलाज से लेकर के हो, चाहे उनकी शिक्षा से लेकर, उन तमाम व्यवस्थाओं को दिल्ली सरकार जो है वो करेगी। उसको लेकर के सरकार की तरफ से ये ऐलान जो है वो फिलहाल किया गया है।
ओके सुशांत, बहुत शुक्रिया कि आप हमसे जुड़े। सुशांत, my colleague was the first reporter on ground yesterday when the terror attack actually took place. I want to quickly cut across viewers because there is a sense of disbelief, that we're all suffering. It shook the heart of the national capital. It shook most of us who live in the national capital. To see visuals like that come in after years of what we thought or what now we feel was a sense of false comfort. These visuals were recorded right after the blast where this now, which has been established, an I-20 vehicle laden with explosives detonated by a doctor, Omar Mohammed, who was behind the wheel of the I-20. Right after that, about 8 to 10 cars surrounding the I-20 were engulfed by the fire. The impact, the intensity of the blast was such that parts of vehicles were found strewn 200 meters away from the blast site. Munish Pandey, who's bringing in these visuals, joining us for more. Munish, what more can you add?
Well, Preeti, the locals in this area where I'm standing, where the blast took place, the locals were the first responders during the incident, and also there were only 2 constables who did some heroic job. In this visuals, it is very clear that the impact of the blast was such that the nearby vehicles also got affected, and affected in a way that their make and made where we can't identify from the visuals. What we can see is that there was a white color car which was impacted, but the person who was driving the car was still stuck, and there are locals who came to rescue at a time when, Preeti, one can see that there was still fire around the area, but they came, they were trying to rescue this person. There are 2 constables also, which we can see in the visuals that they were the one who were taking the locals to the hospital. So these visuals, once again, it confirms that the locals were not only the first responders, but they did some heroic job by saving lives of several individuals, because it was their effort due to which those who were injured, they were taken to the hospital, and due to which might be several lives were saved.
Okay. All right, Munish, thank you for bringing out these visuals, viewers. It is important somewhere to recognize the first responders, those who came in to help. And that's primarily the reason we are putting up this video. I want to quickly bring in for final comments, very quickly, Dr. Kiran Bedi and Dr. Brahmachalani. Dr. Bedi, you did touch on the white-collar nature of this crime. But also what has happened, Dr. Bedi, is now, it shook most of us out of what we thought was a false sense of comfort, that gone are the days of us witnessing attacks like this. It's very much there, it's present, and now orchestrated by those who could possibly be living right besides us.
Truly, we have to be prepared always to deal with it. The message is prevent as much as you can. This is where neighborhood watch groups, beat systems, you know what? I would probably think this will lead to cameras outside every ammunition of this kind, wholesaler or a provider, who is coming, who is buying, let's say, ammonium nitrate, etc. Who is buying? the data of these buyers of these. I think we'll have to work on a whole prevention strategy using technology so that we can prevent as much and prepare our agencies, because the neighborhood is not going to give up. Neighborhood is not going to reconcile to a defeat which they've had in the recent past. So we'll have to prevent, we'll have the strategy for regular grassroots ground policing prevention, putting the onus on the neighborhoods to report. Also, I think a control room to inform anonymously, and also strengthen our investigating agencies. And I'm very happy to see all of them working together since yesterday. We will have a whole network, a national network exposed now through this, because it's come through an ecosystem.
Right. I want to bring in Dr. Brahmachalani. Dr. Brahmachalani, final comments. I don't really want to encapsulate it, but I would like to say it very gingerly at that. You know, there are always periods, phases that a country goes through. We had gone through a huge phase, which was, stability, safety. And for that man out on the street, who's taking that metro back home, that kind of safety, that feeling, was omnipresent, and it was so very important. Are we somewhere now entering a very new phase where our country is concerned, our, the security apparatus, or what we are now going to face?
Over the years, India has experienced major terror attacks in its cities, from Mumbai to Coimbatore to cities in eastern India, in Delhi in the past, for example, in Lajpat Nagar, several other places in Delhi. There have been major bombings in the past. So it's clear there is a pattern to it that periodically the sponsors of terror seek to puncture the perception that India is a safe, secure, prospering country. Pakistan may be a smaller, weaker country, but it's a quasi-failed rogue state that has a long-standing nexus with terror groups. And Pakistan will not change. In fact, after Operation Sindoor, in more recent weeks, China has felt emboldened to up the ante against India. For example, in the Sir Creek estuary. In the Sir Creek estuary, Pakistan has significantly built up its forces, forcing India to also build up its forces. And currently there's an ongoing Indian major military exercise, a tri-service exercise near the Sir Creek. So we have to take into account the fact that dealing with Pakistan has to be a sustained effort by all the different agencies. It has to be a response, a coordinated response. And unfortunately, we're seeing also a convergence today of Chinese and American interests. They're increasingly converging on Pakistan. So for India, this car blast, if you look at it in the larger context, it underscores the fact that that India needs to deal with its challenges proactively.
Correct. I appreciate both of you for joining us. Thank you for giving us your time. We're going to leave it at that, viewers. There might be a theory which suggests we have averted a bigger crisis, a bigger terror strike, and this should be seen as a part win of our security agencies of busting a larger terror module. But have that conversation with the family member of one of those 9 who is dead and killed in this terror strike. Because when it comes to terror, even one attack in one life is one too many.
Many lives lost, families shattered. A day after the Red Fort blast, the grief is raw and the questions are many. Behind every headline, there is a face, a story, a home torn apart. In a corner of Delhi, Pankaj's family spent hours dialing his number after the blast. The 22-year-old, an Uber driver, had gone to drop a relative at the railway station.
जब पता चला तो न्यूज़ देखा, न्यूज़ देने के बाद इमीडिएट इसका फ़ोन मिलाया तो स्विच ऑफ जा रहा था. स्विच ऑफ जा रहा था। फिर हम वहाँ से आनंद फानन में यहाँ आए, थाने में गए। थाने में तो बोले नहीं, आप एक मैं पुलिस वाले का नंबर दे रहा हूँ, आप वहाँ जाओ। तो यही पूरी रात दरमियान चलता रहा, कभी वो रात भर कोई पहचान नहीं हो पाए। लेकिन आपके मीडिया के थ्रू से ये जो गाड़ी का फ्लैश हुआ है, तब जाके हम कंफर्म हो गए जो नहीं।
जी कैसे पता चला? कौन आया?
At Srinivasapuri, the neighbors of Amar Kataria, an only son, remember a kind young man who lived with his parents.
शाम को 7 बजे जब घर आ रहा था, जब घर आने के लिए दुकान से निकला ना, तो जब भी वहाँ ब्लास्ट हुआ है। हाँ।
तो कहाँ लगा था
इसको यहीं लगा है, सिर पे लगा। होनी तो भगवान के हाथ में है, होनी तो आके रहेगी। और जो वहाँ से गुजर रहा था, गुजरते ही बम फट गया।
Noman Ansari had come to Delhi from Shamli with his friend Aman. While the blast claimed Ansari's life, Aman is battling for survival in the hospital.
यहाँ जिंजाना में दुकान करते हैं कॉस्मेटिक की, और वो सामान लेने के लिए गए थे सदर। तो वहाँ से जो है हमारे पास कॉल आई शाम के टाइम, इसके चोट लग गई। फिर हम वहाँ पहुँचे, नौमान की हमें लिस्ट नहीं मिली, हमने बहुत रात देर तक के देखा। फिर सुबह ही जो है सुबह ही पता लगा। नौमान तो हमें दिखा ही नहीं जी, ना देखने दिया था, ना अंदर जाने दे रहे थे।
In Meerut, grief spills out of a small one-room home where Mohsin's family gathers. He drove an e-rickshaw, the only source of income for his parents and 2 younger siblings.
मेरा भाई का नाम मोहसिन था, वो वहाँ ई-रिक्शा चलाता था और उस टाइम पे वो जाम में फंसा हुआ था। उस टाइम पे फोन आया मेरे पास पापा का 10 बजे, इन्होंने सारी घटना मुझे बताई। जब मैं 10:30 बजे 11:30 बजे फिर मैं दिल्ली पहुंचा। फिर मैंने 2 घंटे वहाँ छानबीन करी, पूजा बाजा की, बड़ी मुश्किलों से मुझे अस्पताल में गया मैं। फिर वहाँ जाकर शनाख्त करी मैंने।
Subhash, another victim, used to work at a toll booth.
डबल ड्यूटी करते थे, परिवार चलाने के 2 परिवारों की जिम्मेदारी थी, जो कि बहुत बुरा हुआ है। इसमें कहीं ना कहीं सरकार की बहुत बड़ी नाकामी है, इसमें सुरक्षा में चूक है। दिल्ली जो देश की राजधानी है, अगर यहाँ भी ये होएगी तो बाहर के हालात होंगे।
Their pain doesn't end there. When Subhash's body reached the hospital, the family says even dignity was denied.
अभी भी हमें शाम को तो एम्बुलेंस भी हमको दे नहीं रहे थे। जब हमने परेशान करा, हंगामा किया और 100 नंबर को कॉल किया, उसके बाद यहाँ पे तो इतने दलाल हो रहे हैं, 15-15 हजार 20-20 हजार रुपए उनको मांग रहे हैं।
Each home tells the same story of lives lived on hope, of dreams crushed in a moment. With Milan Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.